Welcome to the session. Topic of this session is agricultural policies of European Union and Japan. The understanding of the agriculture policies followed by different country, particularly developed country, is very important. They help us in critically examining the agriculture policies of our country. Different country they follow different type of policy, and to meet their objectives, to meet the country objectives in terms of meeting the domestic requirement, meeting the industrial requirement, providing the food security to the population of the country. Different types of objective we have. Sometimes objective is to conserve our natural resources. So different types of policy different country follow. And in this session basically we will be reviewing the agriculture policies which are followed in the European Union and also in the Japan. Actually, we will understand how they follow different types of policy, different policy instruments they use to meet the different type of objectives, and how the policies of this European Union and the Japan changed over the period of time to face the issues arises over the period of time. So let us first understand the agriculture policy of European Union. And the agriculture is the leading policy area in the European Union, and basically European Union they organize a common agriculture policy, and that observe almost half of their budget. And the most European Union members they run a technologically advanced agriculture. Their productivity of agriculture sector is very high compared to our country or other developed country. And they employ almost 3 to 5% of the population in agriculture sectors, and they contribute around 3 to 4% to the GDP in the European Union. And this European Union was established as European Economic Community by the Treaty of Rome in the March 1957. And from that time actually they are following the common agriculture policy for the growth of agriculture sector. And basically this common agriculture policy is managed and funded by the European Union at the European level, and from the EU budget, from the European Union budget. And the farming sector has a special consideration in the European countries because it has special importance in their economy. Still, the special consideration is that the farmer income is around 40% lower compared to the non-agriculture income, and agriculture is dependent on the weather and climate, and there is a inevitable time gap between the consumer demand and the farming being able to supply that the commodity demanded by the consumer. And growing a wheat or producing a milk, it will take some time to supply in the market. So there is a special consideration in agriculture sector among the European country. And the objective of this common agriculture policy is to increase the agriculture productivity by promoting the technical progress and also ensuring the rational development of agriculture production system, and also the optimum utilization of the factor of production, particularly the labor. And actually the other objective of common agriculture policy is to provide the fair standard of living for the agriculture community, and to stabilize the market and to assure availability of supply to the consumer in European Union, and also to ensure supply reach consumers at a reasonable price. So these are the important objective of the common agriculture policy in the European Union. And actually a conference, Stresa Conference 1958 organized to enlarge the objectives of the common agriculture policy and set the guideline for the common agriculture policy. And this conference, it was finalized that there is a need to reform the structure of the European agriculture to make it more competitive without any threat to family farm, and to offset the comparatively higher production cost, because there is a higher production cost of agriculture in the European Union. So by providing a common prices and to provide the adequate earning to the farmers, which is above the world prices, this was one of the objective. And this common agriculture policy should not be autarkic but was to protect the internal market against the distortion by outside competition. So another objective was to protect our internal market, that is the European market. And the instruments used by the common agriculture policy is basically the regulation of the market and regulation of the prices, also the regulation of the external relation and reforms of the structure. And the main objective of the common agriculture policy was to give the farmer an adequate income through the market maintained by the minimum prices. And there are three important principles which are followed in the common agriculture policy. One is the market unity, and basically the market unity means there is a unity between the member states, and basically that allow free movement of the product between the European Union states, and this in the moment there should be no custom duty, equivalent charges or subsidy to distort the competition. And to achieve this market unity, there should be a common organization of the market, and there should be a introduction of common prices in the European Union, and there should be harmonization of administration. Also there should be a stable currency parity between the European Union, and introduction of common protective measures at the front end. These are the major recommendations to achieve the market unity. The second principle of common agriculture policy is the community preferences. The community farm produce has priority for sale on the internal market over the import from the non-member country. So they provide high priority to the local produce to be available to be sold in the market. And this can be achieved partly by regulating machinery for export and import, and directly by the custom duties or internally by production subsidies within the community. Third principle of the common agriculture policy is to common financial responsibilities, and there are two elements. One is the fund required for the common agriculture policy was provided jointly, and the revenue produced by the operation of the policy constitute the community, basically the European Union own resources. So whatever the revenue generated, that become part of the European Union resources. And basically in the common agriculture policy, European Union, they produced a inward looking protectionist agriculture policy, and basically this policy reached an impasse at the beginning of 1990s, mainly because of the escalating budget expenditure, encouraging conflict with trading partners. There was a growing public and political concern about other issues like environmental pollutions by intensive agriculture production system in the European Union, then unfavorable agriculture income development, especially in the small scale full farming sectors. The small scale farmers, they are not getting proper agriculture income, and it was a gloomy general economic perspective for the remote rural areas. And after that there was a reforms brought in the common agriculture policy, and they adopted the idea of the base area and compulsory set aside, which have effect on the production. And the base area basically established the budget of direct income payment, the base area set at the national and regional level, and the collective punishment for exceeding the base area in national level at the national level. However, it does not put limitation on the individual producers. So basically in the base area, the area was allocated for a particular area and for a particular crops, and for that area only the income payment or direct income support is provided. But individual farmers, they were free to grow the crops in exceeding areas. And the second aspect here is the compulsory set aside is a measure for the supply control. So target was fixed to remove some of the area from the crops to establish a balanced market, because it has more direct effect on the supply of the commodity. And by the 1970s, this policy at least got some success. The dairy sector import has been eliminated in the European Union, and however, the export and domestic disposable subsidy become increasingly necessary to support the domestic prices. Nevertheless, the farmers' income remains stubbornly resistant to the support, while the taxpayer position changed from the being a gainer to a clear loser, and the expenses of the exports refund and domestic disposable subsidy grew over the period of time. In 1984, quotas were introduced in the dairy regime, and the objective was to control the supply of the raw milk and restrict the growth of surplus production and limit the growth in the subsidy spending, because there was a lot of money was being spent on the subsidy in the milk sector. So idea was to restrict the raw milk production so that the European Union could reduce the subsidy spending on the milk. And the alternative way was to reduce the supported prices, and which were resisted by the farmers. Actually, this would do the more damage to farm returns and farm income. This was the argument from the farmers. Again, the Common Agriculture Policy was reformed in the 1992 during the final negotiation of the Uruguay round of WTO, and modest reforms were brought in the dairy sectors. Actually, it was limited to 5% reduction of the butter intervention prices, and this Uruguay round agreements, they imposed restriction on the development of the Common Agriculture Policy by allowing levy-free access to import to a 5% share of the domestic market, and limiting the both volume and spending on subsidized exports. So this was some of the agreement under the Uruguay round, and so they have to implement in the European Union also. Then again, reforms were brought in the Common Agriculture Policy in 2003, and idea was to make this agriculture policy demand driven, and basically take into account the consumers and taxpayer concern, and it gave the European Union farmer the freedom to produce what they want to produce, what they want to make available in the market. And direct income payment was introduced to maintain the income stability, but the link to production has been ended, so it was support given in terms of income. And the farmers, they have to also respect the environmental and food safety and animal welfare standards. If failed to do, they will face reduction in their direct payment support. And also through these reforms in 2003, they decoupled the subsidy and the production and make the EU farmer more competitive and market oriented. And this Common Agriculture Policy of European Union, they got some criticism also, because it was basically import restrictive statistics and are normally regarded as an outright protectionist measures. And it goes against basically the general free trade orientation of the European Union Common Commercial Policy. So that was the political criticism from the large agriculture export countries, also from the developing country. Now we'll move to the agriculture policy of the Japan, and basically there are two groups of programs were implemented in the Japan. One is the Agrarian Japan, another is the Developed Japan. And when we talk about the Agrarian Japan, there was a severe short supply of the food, and the more total consumption expenditure was there on the food. They have to spend more money on the food item. And in the agriculture in Japan, they have implemented many programs like the Staple Food Control Program of 1942, then Land Reform Program of 1946, then Agricultural Cooperative Program of 1948. And there was a two important laws. One was the Food Control Law of 1942, and then Agriculture Basic Law of the 1961. And under this laws, basically government directly purchased all the staple foods like rice, wheat and barley through the food agency at the predetermined prices. So whatever the production was there, it was purchased by the government through the food agency on the predetermined prices. And in the agriculture in Japan, the objective was to encourage the mini-size owner operators to remain in the farming, and by providing support to them, by providing good prices to them, and produce as much possible through a technological intensive or technological possible production they want to achieve, they should be achieved. This was the objective. And in 1952, Agricultural Land Act was there, and it regulated basically the land transfer by setting limit on the output of land holding, and land ownership basically restricted to the cultivators. And after the 55, the both farm and non-farm economies were reconstructed from the war damage, and basically there was a food shortage problem was there, so food shortage problem was tackled. And in 1961, new laws came, that is the Basic Agriculture Act came, and the objective was to increase the productivity of the labor by improving the basic structure of the agriculture sectors, and to adjust agriculture production to the changing demand situation, and also to reduce the number of farmers. And in the 1973, the policy shift from encouraging viable farm to the encouraging a responsible farm. And basically in the reforms in the late 1970s and 1980s, that ended the need for permission to lease or sell land, and ended the limit on the land holding size. And basically the emphasis in the developed Japan, the emphasis was basically on assuring the fair income to the farmers by encouraging the farm productivity and supporting the agricultural prices. And the basic guideline of government agriculture policy was formulated in 1980s, and this guideline said about the maintenance of Japanese food consumption pattern, and at the same time adopted to have a target increasing Japan agriculture productivity to the level of the European Union countries. So actually in the 1990s, they targeted to achieve the agriculture productivity in the Japan as compared to similar to the European Union country agriculture productivity. And the focus was predominantly placed on the price of the rice in the Japan to raise the farm household income. And they also implemented production set aside program on rice for more than 30 years, but this program was failed to shift farming resources from the rice to the other crops. And basically this program effectively lowered the Japan food self-sufficiency rate. And they promoted this Japan agriculture cooperatives, and they also opposed to any cut in the price of the rice or any other farm produce in the Japan. And in 1995, new act, that is the Law for Stabilization of Supply, Demand and Prices of Staple Foods came. And basically this law introduced the market mechanism by freeing the prices and allowing the direct marketing of production by the farmers. And again in the 99 new basic law, that is the basic law of food, agriculture and rural areas came, that replaced the basic law of 1961. And they said that a comprehensive principle to stabilize market based prices and developed efficient farming system and also increase national self-sufficiency of the food production. And again in the 2006, the core farm business stabilization bill came and basically after this bill, the farmers were compensated for the price decline, but it will limit the production. This price compensation is available to the large scale production only, so it was not available to the small scale farmers. And presently Japan is following the different quota systems and different policies according to the different commodities, like the producers quota, and these quotas were followed in the drinking and manufacturing milk, and this system was voluntary. If farmers they wish, they can adopt this quota system. Here this quota system, basically the provision was to limit the milk production to keep market prices stable, and the provision was made to support the farmers. The payment were made to farmers per liter of the milk. Then another mechanism adopted is the income stabilization policies, and this is available for the vegetables and fruits, rice, soybean, milk and other products, and the farmers are compensated for the losses if the current year market prices are lower than a historical average prices. So if the market prices are less than the historical average prices, the farmers are compensated for the difference. And then the another system is the deficiency payment systems. It is implemented for the beef calf and the soybean and pork. And here in this system, the farmers payment is made to the farmers for all or part of difference between the fixed target price and the actual market price in the current year. So here in this commodity like in the soybean, the fixed target prices is announced, and if the actual market prices are less than the target prices, the deficiency payment is made to the farmers. And there are another programs in the present commodity policy of the Japan. One is the rice diversion programs. So here payment is made to the farmers who use rice paddy field for the purpose other than growing the rice. So if a farmers divert or his land for other crops, so he will get some compensation from the government. And then insurance subsidies also implemented, and this is available for many crops and also in the livestock activities. And actually the target is to gradually lower the government set prices for the farm producers. And then they are also implementing the stock holding policies. So purpose is to maintain stock of certain foods and feed, and notably the rice. So if any emergency is there, so that food is available for the consumption purpose in the country. And they are also following this food safety and quality policies, and basically this is the important or increasingly important issues in the Japan. And here in Japan they have set a committee to assess and address safety risk in the country. And the Japan is also following after they have prepared a comprehensive policy reforms plan in December 2013, and objective is to promote the long-term growth and competitiveness of the food and agriculture sector in the Japan. And the purpose is to continue fulfilling its multifunctional role by the agriculture sector, such as the conserving the natural resources and the providing a good rural landscape in the country. And various reforms undertaken under the comprehensive policy reforms plan in December 2013. And one of the reforms is to phasing out of the administrative allocation of the production targets for the table rice, and also shifting to a more targeted system of income support. So in place of the prices, they are moving towards the income support measure in the Japan. And actually after this comprehensive policies, focus is to giving farmers more freedom to make their own production decisions. Whatever the crops they want to produce, they can produce. There should be no restriction from the government. If they want to produce the rice, they can produce the rice. If they want to produce the soybean, they can produce. So the choice will be provided to the farmers. Whatever they choose, whatever they feel, they can grow the crops which provide the more income to the farmers. And now we can sum up this session that the major objective of the agriculture policy in the European Union and the Japan is to stabilize the market, particularly the agriculture market, agriculture prices, so that the farmers have sufficient income. So government have also adopted the policy of the income support, and actually the policy adopted by the European Union and also the Japan is to orient the farmers towards the particular types of production, whether rice or other crops. And also there was a focus on the modernization of farming system, and actually they want to increase the farm productivities. Like in Japan also followed that their productivity should be comparable with the European Union, so they followed the modern production technology. And basically in the European Union, we have seen that the price support program was there. They have implemented basically a protectionist policy, we can say, and this policy, price support policy or protection policy, basically induced farmers to overproduce. They produce whatever more than the requirement in their countries, and that caused the corresponding government to offer excess agriculture quantity to the world market. So there was more availability of the agriculture produce in the world market, so that lowered the world agriculture prices. So this was we can say, certain disadvantage of more production by the developed country. And in European Union, basically they follow the common agriculture policy by a group of country of European Union, and the more emphasis was to how to restrict the import, how to increase the export from the European Union country, and provide the better prices to the farmers and better income to the farmers. And similarly, Japan also followed the commodity policies recently, and they have provided support based on the particular commodity requirement. Sometimes they followed the income support measure, sometimes they followed the quota system. So they followed how the food should be available, prevalence food should be available, and later on they followed the food safety aspect. All these were also followed in the European Union and in the Japan. With this, I thank you.